The U.S. House of Representatives has passed the so-called Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act this week. The move has been strongly condemned by China as well as quarters from within the U.S. A U.S. human rights organization called Popular Resistance has sent an open letter to Congress calling the legislation biased and dangerous. CGTN sat down with the author of the letter. Let's hear what he had to say.
The open letter to the U.S. Congress is titled Why the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act of 2019 Must Be Opposed. In the 4,000-word document, the author lists the main reasons for opposing the bill and points out what his organization perceives as misunderstandings and bias from some American politicians on the issue. The letter also explains the causes of the violent demonstrations in Hong Kong.
We were very concerned that the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act really is a law that will be an excuse for the U.S. to intervene into the affairs of Hong Kong and mainland China. Our concern more broadly is that the U.S. national security strategy is one that requires great power conflict.
The open letter outlines the history of Hong Kong. This believes there is a lack of understanding of Hong Kong's history, which results in some Americans wrongly interpreting the reasons for the current unrest.
There's more democracy in Hong Kong now than there ever was under British colonial rule. The British were in control. There were no elections, but now you have a legislature that's selected by popular vote.
The move from the U.S. House of Representatives comes after months of violent protest in Hong Kong. Regarding the behavior of Hong Kong police, this says law enforcement has exercised considerable restraint.
Compared to what we see in the United States, in the reaction to the Occupy movement and the reaction to some of the protests against pipelines and oil and gas infrastructure, in comparison, Hong Kong was quite restrained.
The bill will need to make it through the U.S. Senate and be signed by President Trump before becoming law. This is calling on U.S. citizens to pressure their state senators to vote against the bill.
It gets the U.S. intruding into China's internal affairs. And that's not good for the United States, and that's not good for China because it adds to the conflict between both countries.
The Chinese government has strongly opposed the U.S. legislation.
Any move that undermines China's interests will be met with a vigorous response. I would like to reiterate that China strongly urges some U.S. Congress members to correctly understand the situation, immediately stop pushing the review of the Hong Kong-related act, and stop meddling in Hong Kong affairs and interfering in China's internal affairs to avoid further damaging China-U.S. relations.
Some violent protests in Hong Kong are currently seeing a decline. The Hong Kong government has put forward a series of measures to try to end the unrest, including policies around housing and land supply.